Okay, so reciprocal graphs. Let's make some notes on the headings. And off we go. Right, so we're going to be able to sketch functions such as y equals 1 over x, y equals 1 over x squared, or negative a number over x when we consider their asymptotes. So asymptotically, what do they tend towards? We'll have a look at that now. So I'm going to sketch the graph of the function y equals 1 over x. Don't know if you can remember that from GCSE. If you can, great. Sketch it straight away. If not, what I want you to do now is to fill in the blank squares, the values of y. So 1 over minus 1, 1 over minus 0.5 and so on. And then sketch the curve in your book. So hit pause, fill them in, and then sketch the curve for me. And let's see what it looks like. Okay. So that means you've sketched it. 1 over minus 1 is 1. 1 over minus 0.5 is minus 2. 1 over minus 0.25 should have minus 4. 1 over a quarter, because it's 1 over a quarter, you can write, means we can write it as 1 over 0.25 equals 1 over a quarter, which is just 4. Same thing, 1 over 0.5, oops, is equal to 1 over half, is equal to, we invert that, so it's 1 times 2 over 1, which is just 2. And when we sketch that then, we've got two graphs as it were. Let's get rid of my writing there. And first one, minus 1, minus 2 and minus 4. And 4, 2 and 1. And those are our curves, y equals 1 over x. So that's our sketch of the graph. Whenever you're not sure about sketching a graph, put some values in and then see what it looks like. Okay. And moving on then. Oh, asymptotically. So asymptotically, what we've got here is these curves, this one here is tending towards the y-axis, but it's never going to get there. So this is what's known as an asymptote. It's often shown by a dotted line. In this case, because it's the y-axis, we haven't, it's not shown as such. Same thing with the x-axis. It's going to tend towards x, but it's never going to get there. So it tends towards 0 here, but it's never going to get there. Same with these. So those are the asymptotes then. Asymptotically is tending towards the y-axis and then towards the x-axis. Good. Moving on. Let's have a look at another example. Next example, sketch the graph of the function y equals 3 over x. In order to sketch that, we have to note that it's just basically 3 times 1 over x. So it's just 3 times, so we can write it as this, 3 times 1 over x. So it's going to be exactly the same as 1 over x, except it's further out, because it's 3 times the value. So that's our function y equals 1 over x in red. And the function y equals 3 over x is as such. So again, make some notes, write the example down and sketch the curves. When you're ready, hit play again. Another example, sketch the graph of the function y equals minus 1 over x. So because it's minus, anyone remember what happens in graph transformations from GCSE? Minus 1 over x means that it's going to be a reflection. Okay, it's going to be a reflection in the x-axis. So we sketch 1 over x first in red, and then we're going to reflect it in the x-axis. So that curve is going to be reflected down here, and this curve is going to be reflected up here. There we go. So we got in blue, we got minus 1 over x. Sketch that. When you're ready to move on, hit play again. This time they're asking us to sketch a graph of the function y equals 1 over x squared. Think about what that means, 1 over x squared. What does that mean for any value of x? If we're squaring any value of x, that means that the y can never be negative, because any negative values of x are going to be positive. So that means it's never going to stray below the x-axis. This graph will never be below the x-axis. So what I want you to do for me is to hit pause, fill in the gaps, and when you're ready to have a look at the solution, hit play again. So we should have 1. So it's 1 over 0.5 squared, which is 1 over a quarter, so that should be 4. 1 over a quarter squared, just 1 over 16, so it should give us 16. 16 again, 4 and 1. So when we sketch this curve, none of the y values are negative, always positive. So it's going to look like this, and coming down on the other side. So asymptotically, it tends towards the y-axis, which is x equals 0, and here it tends towards the x-axis, which is y equals 0. Good. Whoops. There you go. Hit pause. Sketch a curve. When you're ready to attempt some questions for me, hit play again. So exercise 4C, that's on page 67 of your book. We've got a couple of questions on this page. Oh, interesting. You've only got these 2 questions. Questions 1 and 2. So sketch them all, quick as you can. Good luck.